In the year 47,832 of the imperial calendar, on the obsidian world of Varketh, the Korgath Legion forged its warriors from star fire and pain. They were born in vats, grown in armored wombs, and imprinted with a single unbreakable directive: protect the Empire. Love was an error to be purged, mercy was weakness. Death in service was the only acceptable end. Zorak 9 was the finest blade the Legion had ever produced. 8 feet tall, skin like living onyx laced with bioluminescent veins, 4 arms each ending in retractable plasma claws. His mind was a lattice of tactical sub-processors capable of calculating 1,000,000 battlefield outcomes in a heartbeat. He had ended 17 rebellions, collapsed 3 rogue Dyson spheres, and personally executed the High Matriarch of the insectoid Shah when she dared defy the Emperor. Yet something inside Zorak 9 had begun to fracture. It happened on Epsilon Eridani -4, a backwater agri-world the Empire used as a breadbasket. The Legion had been sent to crush a minor uprising, farmers who refused to surrender their children for the vats. Zorak 9 led the purge. His squad burned villages from orbit. He strode through the ashes, armor smoking, when he heard singing. A human girl, no more than 19 Terran years, stood in the ruins of a hydroponic dome, cradling a dying seedling in her palms and singing to it. Her voice was soft, broken, ridiculous. The seedling would never grow again. The planet would be scorched salt in a week. And yet she sang. Zorak 9's targeting HUD locked onto her, threat level negligible, emotional anomaly detected in observer, recommendation, immediate neural purge. He raised his primary claw. She looked up. Brown eyes, soot-streaked cheeks, hair the color of wheat before the fire. "It's okay," she told the plant. "I'm here." The claw trembled. For the first time in his existence, Zorak 9 hesitated. That hesitation lasted 0.87 seconds, long enough for the girl to meet his gaze, long enough for something ancient and forbidden to spark behind his ocular implants. He lowered the claw, turned, walked away. Behind him, the girl lived. The Legion's psychic overseers felt the anomaly. They dragged Zorak 9 before the Emperor's viceroys on the throne moon of Clethera Prime. They cracked open his skull, peeled back the neural lattice, and found a single corrupted node, an emotion labeled protect. But not for the Empire. The sentence was immediate: excommunication, memory wipe, dismantlement. But Zorak 9 fought. He killed 12 viceroys and escaped in a stolen void skimmer before the pain could finish him. As the alarm screamed and the moon's defense grid lit up, he did something no Korgath had ever done. He went back for the girl. He found her walking along a irradiated road, carrying that same dead seedling in a cracked pot. When his shadow fell over her, she looked up, not in fear but wonder. "You came back," she whispered. "My designation is Zorak 9, he said, voice like grinding tectonic plates. "You will come with me." She tilted her head. "My name is Lira, and only if you say please." No Korgath in history had ever spoken that word. Zorak 9 felt his sub-processors stutter. "Please," he rasped. Lira smiled, took his massive lower hand, and climbed into the skimmer. They fled the Eridani system with half the Imperial fleet on their heels. Zorak 9 plotted a course no sane pilot would attempt, straight through the 7 Forbidden Galaxies. The Maw, the Silence, the Shattered Halo, the Veiled Abyss, the Grave of Suns, the Whispering Dark, and finally the Rift of Forgotten Gods. Each was a graveyard of physics, patrolled by things older than the Empire, places where even the Emperor feared to tread. If they could cross all 7, they might reach the mythic Sanctuary Nebula, a place the ancient texts claimed existed beyond imperial law, where outcasts could breathe free. Zorak 9 did not tell Lira that no ship had ever survived more than 4. He also did not tell her that the corruption in his lattice was spreading. Every light year, the word protect rewrote itself. Protect Lira, not the Empire, not duty, just Lira, and every time her fingers brushed his armored skin, the corruption grew stronger. Love, the Legion had warned, was a virus. Zorak 9 was learning just how fatal it could be. Middle, the 7 galaxies, 1. The Maw, galaxy of endless hunger. The first jump spat them into a nebula of living plasma storms that devoured metal. Their skimmer's shields failed in minutes. Zorak 9 carried Lira on his back, 4 arms paddling through vacuum, while his armor's emergency thrusters screamed. Behind them, the pursuing frigates were torn apart and swallowed by mouths made of lightning. Lira pressed her cheek to the back of his helmet. "You're warm," she said, as if temperature mattered in hard vacuum. Zorak 9 felt systems redline. He should have abandoned her. Survival protocols demanded it. Instead, he pushed harder, carving a path through the storm with his own body until they tumbled into the calm eye at the nebula's heart. There, floating among the corpses of devoured fleets, they found an ancient refueling station still miraculously powered. While Zorak 9 patched the skimmer, Lira planted her dead seedling in a cracked viewport box filled with alien soil. "It might grow here," she said. Nothing grew in the maw. But Zorak 9 said nothing. He simply watched her sing to it again. 2. The silence, where sound itself had died. The second galaxy was a void so absolute that sound waves collapsed. Speech was impossible. Thought became dangerous, too loud inside the skull. They drifted for weeks. Zorak 9's internal chronometers counted 41 days before Lira began to break. She clawed at her ears, screaming without noise, convinced insects were burrowing into her brain. Zorak 9 did the only thing he could think of. He removed his helmet, something no Korgath could survive for more than minutes, and pressed his forehead to hers, skin to skin. He opened the private channel in his mind and let her hear his thoughts. "I am here. You are safe. I will not let the silence take you." Lira went very still. Then she wrapped her arms around his neck and cried without sound. In that moment, Zorak 9 understood the difference between duty and choice. When they finally found a derelict station with breathable air, Lira spoke aloud for the first time in weeks. "I heard you," she whispered. "All of you. You're lonely." Zorak 9 had no answer. Korgath were not programmed for loneliness, but the corruption pulsed, warm and terrifying. 3. The shattered halo, graveyard of broken gods. Here the corpses of titanic beings drifted, entities that had once called themselves gods before the Empire hunted them to extinction. Their hollowed skulls were the size of moons. One such skull latched onto their hull with psychic tendrils, trying to drink their memories. It flooded Zorak 9 with visions of his creation, the vats, the screams of the donors whose genetic material had built him, the thousands he had killed without hesitation. Then it turned to Lira. She saw the moment he had almost executed her on Eridani -4, saw the claw raised, saw the hesitation. The god corpse whispered in her mind, "He will kill you one day. It is what he was made for." Lira looked at Zorak 9 across the cockpit. He was on his knees, claws buried in his own skull, trying to tear the psychic hooks free. She walked over, took his face in her small hands, and kissed the place where a mouth would have been on a human. "I choose you anyway," she said. The god corpse screamed and released them, some hungers it seemed, even dead gods could not swallow. 4. The veiled abyss, where time runs backward. They emerged younger than when they entered. Lira's hair grew back the color it had been before radiation burned it. Zorak -9's armor bore fewer scars. But the price was memory. Each hour cost them pieces of the past. Lira forgot her parents' faces. Zorak 9 forgot the names of the viceroys he had slain. By the time they escaped, Lira no longer remembered the seedling she carried. Zorak 9 no longer remembered why he had hesitated on Eridani -4. Only one memory remained intact in both their minds, the moment their hands had first touched. Some things, it seemed, were stronger than entropy. 5. The grave of suns, realm of dying stars. Here the stars were old and cannibalistic, eating their own planets. One such star reached for them with solar flares the size of continents. Zorak 9 flew straight into its corona to slingshot away, knowing the radiation would cook him from the inside. His armor blackened, bioluminescent veins burst. He lost the use of his upper left arm permanently. Lira dragged him into the medbay and worked for 16 hours straight with trembling hands, splicing cables into his nervous system, whispering, "Stay with me, stay with me." When he finally rebooted, she was asleep on his chest, tears cutting clean tracks through the soot on her face. Zorak 9 realized he no longer thought in tactical probabilities. He thought in heartbeats, hers, steady against his ruined plating. 6. The whispering dark, where nightmares wear your face. The 6th galaxy was populated by mirror beings that became perfect copies of your greatest fears. Zorak 9's fear took the shape of himself, uncorrupted, loyal, the perfect Korgath warrior. It wore his old Legion insignia and spoke with the voice of the Emperor. "You abandoned duty," it accused. "You are broken. She will die because of you. Let me end this cleanly." It raised the same claw that had once threatened Lira. Lyra's fear, meanwhile, took the shape of Zorak -9, leaving her. Walking away into the dark without looking back, the two nightmares fought. Plasma claws tore reality. The copies bled starlight. In the end, the real Zorak -9 stood between Lira and both illusions. "I crossed 5 galaxies that should have killed us," he roared. "I will not be afraid of shadows." He destroyed them both, but the effort cost him. The corruption, the love, had grown so strong it was killing his higher functions. Tactical sub-processors shut down one by one. He was becoming something the Legion had no name for. He was becoming a man, ending the Rift of Forgotten Gods and the Sanctuary Nebula. The 7th galaxy was not a galaxy at all. It was a wound. The rift tore open before them like a screaming mouth. Beyond it lay the Sanctuary Nebula, shimmering, impossible, real. But guarding the wound stood the Emperor's final weapon, the entire Korgath Legion, 10,000 warriors just like Zorak 9 once was. At their head stood Zorak Prime, the first Korgath, the template, the living god of their kind. Zorak Prime's voice echoed across the void. "Return the human. Accept reconditioning. Your corruption will be forgiven." Zorak 9 looked at Lira. She was planting the seedling again, this time in a proper pot she had scavenged months ago. It had sprouted, a single green leaf in a universe of death. "I can't cross this last one," he told her quietly. "They will not let me." Lira touched the leaf, then touched his cheek. "Then we don't cross. We stay here, together." "No," he said. "You will go. You will live." He kissed her then, the first and only time. His lipless mouth was awkward, gentle, reverent. Then he turned to face the Legion alone. What followed was the greatest battle the Empire had ever recorded. One broken Korgath against 10,000 perfect ones. He fought for 3 days. He tore apart dreadnoughts with his bare hands. He carved his designation, Zorak -9, into the hull of Zorak Prime's flagship in letters 1,000 kilometers long. He laughed as he died, because for the first time he felt no pain, only the memory of Lira's song. When the Legion finally brought him down, they did not execute him. They could not. His body refused to die. The corruption had rewritten his very cells. Zorak Prime stood over the ruin of his brother warrior. "What are you?" he demanded. Zorak 9, missing 3 arms, armor melted to bone, looked toward the rift where Lira had vanished into the Sanctuary Nebula. "I am hers," he said. And with his last strength, he triggered the self-destruct in his core, a blast large enough to collapse the rift behind him, sealing the Legion out forever. The explosion lit the 7th galaxy for 1,000 years. They say if you sail to the edge of the Sanctuary Nebula today, you can still find a small green planet no charts acknowledge. On it grows a single tree descended from a seedling that should never have lived. Beneath that tree sits a woman with wheat-colored hair, now streaked with silver. She is old by human standards, but her eyes are bright. And carved into the tree's bark, in letters no human hand could make, are these words: "I crossed 7 galaxies to protect the girl I was never meant to love. And I would do it again, every light year, every death, every time.